proceedings. Asking the host before taking a screenshot is the courteous thing to do. If permission is granted, you must also advise them where you plan to post your screenshot. Another is for you to enjoy the process and learn more. And I believe many are interested in this. For those who want to receive an e-certificate, please make sure to answer the evaluation form, which will be posted in the chat box later. of Women. It is my pleasure to be the lady of ceremony for this webinar. I am Gretchen, and I am the Research and Development Support Staff of Center for Gender and Development, Bicol University. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. We appreciate you taking a time off your busy schedule and are with us this afternoon. This is the virtual kickoff ceremony of the 18th Day Campaign to End Violence Against Women of Bicol University Center for Gender and Development. The campaign is in support of the national government's goal of protecting the human rights of women and girls by upholding its commitment to address all forms of gender-based violence. This year's campaign seeks to raise awareness on the Safe Spaces Act, or the RA 11313, or SSA, among the general public, as well as the organization's task with enforcing the law. The slogan for this year is Filipino Marespeto, Safe Spaces, Kasali Tayo. This webinar will not be possible if not for the efforts of our fellow gender advocates in the university. We would like to extend our gratitude to our President, Dr. Arnulfo M. Mascareñas, our Vice President for RDE, Dr. Luis O. Amano, our VP for Academic Affairs, Dr. Amelia A. De Rosan, Bicol University College of Science Dean, Dr. Jocelyn Serrano, the Director of the Communication and Public Relations Office, Dr. Renelyn Bautista, and all other officials and GAD coordinators of the university. Let me review once again and give reminders to some webinar etiquette that we have to follow. Okay, first, we are requesting everyone to change their username to following the format of agency_name. Example, BUCGAD, that's us, _ Gretchen, that's me. Another one is to ask permission before you screenshot, another is for you to turn off your microphone and video to give way to the talk of the resource person. Third, try to attend the webinar from a quiet area that has minimal background noise and movement. If you are in a room with the door, close it.
Recording in
Consider
progress.
putting a meeting in progress note on the door, and tell other members of the household or office to please not interrupt unless it's an emergency. Next, do not multitask and stay focused on the webinar. Next is you can all raise your questions anytime. However, use the chat function to do so. We promise to collate questions and raise it to our resource person this afternoon, okay? Another is to ask permission before you screenshot or record. Asking your host before taking a screenshot is the courteous thing to do. If permission is granted, you must also advise them where you plan to post your screenshot. Next is to enjoy the process and learn more. And lastly, for those who want to receive an e-certificate, please make sure to answer the evaluation form, which will be posted in the chat box later. Okay. We are also encouraging everybody to change their display picture in Facebook using the Facebook profile frame of PCW. So I have presented 2 examples of profile frame, which everyone can adopt. Another one is to change their virtual background when using Zoom, okay? So, nagtataka kayo siguro kung bakit ang background is Bicol University. Well, it's a matter of pride, okay? Okay. We are posting a challenge to each and every participant of this webinar, okay? So, we call it your hashtag ATM photo, okay? So, here are the instructions for joining the challenge. First is to capture your hashtag ATM or at the moment photo while watching and participating in this webinar. So yung mga nasa Facebook po, They can also join this contest. Post the photo on Facebook with your catchy caption and include hashtag #SabiUSafeCa and tag the official FB page of Bicol University Center for Gender and Development. However, only the pictures posted between 2:30 to 3:30 shall be considered, and 10 individuals with the most catchy post will receive 100 pesos load card each. Okay, so another member of CGAD is in charge of the participants for this particular challenge. Okay, so let me share the ABP for nag-freeze ako. Can you please share the prayer? Prayer, I can't. Yeah.
Violence against women or VOW from November 25th to December 12th, we ask you, Lord, to look with kindness upon all of us who are gathered here. Fill our hearts and minds with love, wisdom, and courage as we face our daily lives. We pray for all women and girls who suffer from domestic violence, rape, incest, sexual harassment, trafficking, prostitution, and other forms of violence. May they have the courage to break their silence, find protection, healing, and justice. We pray for the perpetrators of VOW that they may learn to respect women and girls and stop the violence. O loving Father and Mother, send us your Spirit so that everything that we do will be done with love and respect for our fellow humans. Regardless of age, sex, class, ethnicity, and ability, O powerful God, develop in us a high regard for the thoughts, feelings, and experiences of everyone, and bestow on us the capacity to promote, protect, and fulfill the rights of women and girls. Almighty Creator, grant us the strength to stand up against all forms of violence happening to women and girls, the sharpness to recognize a silenced victim of VOW, the courage to speak up against VOW, the resourcefulness to help a victim of VOW, and the resolve to never commit any form of VOW. For all of this, we implore your guidance. Amen.
Hagi ng mga kababaihan sa lipunang Pilipino. Kaisa sila sa marubdob na paghahangad ng kalayaan ng ating lahi. Kabilang sila sa paglinang ng ating makulay na sining at mayamang kultura. Kasapi sila sa pagtataguyod ng mga adhikain ng kapwa mamamayan at sa pagtugon sa mga pangangailangan ng lipunan. Katuwang sila sa pagtuklas sa mga larangan ng agham at medisina. Kapanalig sila sa pagpapairal ng batas, karapatan at katarungan para sa lahat. Kabahagi sila sa paglilingkod sa bayan at sa pagpapanatili ng demokrasyang Pilipino. Sa paglipas ng panahon, hindi nagmaliw ang kanilang pag-ibig sa ating inang bayan. Mga kababayan, ito ang alay ng mga kababaihang Pilipino para sa bayan. Tumayo po tayong lahat at sabay-sabay nating awitin ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Ayang pag-ibig, pero sa silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dilim mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, gulatan ng pag-ibig, sa manlulupin, di ka masisingil. Sa lahat ng tulog, sa sigat at sa lalim mong babang, may ginagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang isang ng patawad mo'y tagumpay na naglilingin. Tuwing at araw ng kailan pa may madilim. Luman ang araw ng 145, buhay ay nangis sa piling mo. Ang higaya ng pagpay makahamig, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Before we proceed with the webinar this afternoon, let me introduce to you another member of the Center for Gender and Development, Ms. Amabelia A. De Luna, to present to us the participants for this afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to present to you the summary of our participants this afternoon's event. There. We have 72.6% for female and 26.4% for male. This is as of 1 o'clock this afternoon. So we have 212 responses for this event. But as of this moment, we already have 238 participants. And we also have, as of the age from 16 to 20 years old, we have 115 participants. 21 to 25 years of age, 42 participants. 26 to 30 years old, we have 16 participants. 31 to 35 years old, 7 participants. 36 to 40 years old, 9 participants. 41 to 45 years old, 16 participants. 46 to 50 years old, 4 participants. 51 to 55 years old, 7 participants. 56 to 60 years old, 8 participants. And for more than 60 years old, we have 2 participants. And of course, we would like to recognize the presence of our friends from the following affiliations and agencies: Partido State University, Camarines Norte State College, Central Bicol State University of Agriculture, Sorsogon State College, Camarines Sur Polytechnic College, Department of Education Albay, San Jose Community College Malilipot, Tabaco National High School, DepEd Monreal National High School, PNPTI RTC 5, PLGU Sorsogon City, DepEd Albay Malilipot National High School, UST Graduate School Legazpi City, Legazpi City National High School, Humadcad National High School, Buenafor Elementary School, National Economic and Development Authority, Bureau of Fire Protection Region 5, Professional Regulations Commissions Legazpi, Philippine Statistics Authority Albay, PLGU Catanduanes, and PNPTI RTC 5. But of course, this will not be possible without our friends from our own backyard, the Bicol University Institute of Design and Architecture, the College of Education, College of Social Science and Philosophy, College of Engineering, College of Business, Economics and Management, College of Agriculture and Forestry, Jesse M. Robredo Institute of Governance and Development, University Health Sciences Library, the Bicol University Gubat Campus, Tabaco Campus, Polangi Campus, and Daraga Campus. For our pre-test upon the registration. For our first question, the Magna Carta of Women is comprehensive women's human rights law that seeks to eliminate discrimination against women by recognizing protection of women, especially those in marginalized sector. Out of 212 respondents, 210 got the correct answer. So only 2 got the false. Okay, very good. At least you know your rights. When was Magna Carta for Women signed in the Philippines? Out of 212, 191 answered correctly. It was in 2009 when it was signed in the Philippines. And 18 of them answered it was in 2010, and in 2011, 3 answered on that year. Next is Magna Carta is also known for what? It is also known for RA 9710, or at least we have 188 participants who got the correct responses. The Magna Carta of Women defines discrimination against women as any gender-based distinction, exclusion, or restriction, and any act of omission, including by law, policy, administrative measures, or practice of general application that fails to provide discrimination compounded by or intersecting with other grounds. And 167 answered all of the above, and they are all correct. So out of 212, 167 got the correct answer. And then the Magna Carta of Women mandates all government offices, including government-owned and controlled corporations and local government units, and law and attaining its objectives. It also mandates 188 of our 213 correspondents got the correct answer, which is all of the above. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Again, maray na hapon sa Gabos. I will stop share. I cannot stop share. Maybe I cannot stop share. Sige, be, please. Okay.
To begin this webinar, I am pleased to introduce to you the Director of the Center for Gender and Development, Dr. Noel A. Raffer, to deliver the opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gretchen of BU Center for Gender and Development. Dr. Arnulfo M. Mascarenhas, President 4 of Bicol University. Dr. Amelia A. Rosan, BU Vice President for Academic Affairs. Dr. Luis O. Amano, Vice President for Research, Development, and Extension. BU officials and personnel, our dear students, participants from various offices or agencies, as well as from higher educational institutions from different parts of the region. And of course, our honorable guest speaker for this afternoon's activity. Maraming hapon po sa inyo, Gabos. Good afternoon po. Today starts the 18-day campaign against violence against women and children as mandated by our government through the Philippine Commission on Women, or PCW. PCW recognizes that violence against women and girls is not just a major public health problem, but also a grave violation of human rights. As such, various measures and mechanisms have been employed and implemented to address it, and one of which is the 18-day campaign to end VOW, an advocacy campaign that is observed annually from November 25 to December 12, as mandated by Proclamation 1172 of 2006. In consonance with the said proclamation and advocacy campaign, the Bicol University Center for Gender and Development, also known as BU-CGAD, as it works in carrying out its vision and mission to assist the university to be a gender-responsive and sensitive academic community, and to mainstream God in all the programs of the university. Thought of starting the 18-day campaign against VAUSI with a very subtle but loud discussion and campaign of the women's rights as overarching context of the said activity. This aims to generally advocate God awareness and mainstreaming, influence gender and development policies, plans, programs, and activities that will advance God perspective and the rights of women across colleges, units, clienteles of the university, as well as to its external linkages in particular. I cannot thank you enough for heeding our invitation, for joining us today, and for generally taking time and effort to be one with us in our campaign to end VAUSI by starting first with a presentation and discussion of the women's rights. And what is a better, if not the best way to do this, but to invite the very person herself who drafted the Bible of the Rights of Women in the Philippines, also known as the Republic Act 9710 of 2009. So ladies and gentlemen, without much further ado, my warmest welcome and gratitude to all of you, most especially to our honorable guest speaker. Maraming hapon po sa Indugobos.
Thank you, Doc Noel. To inspire us this afternoon, we shall now hear important messages from two of the most distinguished officials in the university. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to all of you our Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Amelia A. De Rosa.
Marhay na hapon po sa Indugabos. Am I heard?
Yes po, ma'am.
Yes po, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I am excited about this webinar series that begins the 18-day campaign to end violence against women. Thank you very much to our beloved Director of the Center for Gender and Development, Dr. Noel Refer. My salute to you, sir. And of course, to the staff of the BUC GAD. Of course, my greeting, please allow me to greet our beloved President, Dr. Arnulfo M. Mascareñas, to all the Vice Presidents of Bicol University, most especially at this moment, our Director for the Center for Gender and Development, Dr. Noel Refer, and all the other deans and directors, respected participants, our BU officials. I know there are GAD coordinators around from the different colleges and units of the Bicol University, our faculty members in Bicol University, our faculty members from other HEIs, and from the teachers of the Department of Education. Also, we have other agencies of government who are joining with us in this webinar series. My dear fellow women, guests, our beloved guest, especially Attorney Maria Cleofe Jetty Sandoval. My battery is getting low, so I have power. I have changed power. So first, to our guests, friends, ladies and gentlemen, maraming hapon po sa Indugabos. First, I would like to extend my warmest congratulations, and I am repeating it, an appreciation to the Center for Gender and Development, headed by Dr. Noel Refer, who himself is a very strong advocate of women's rights and the rights of the LGBTQ community. Thank you very much for sponsoring this regional seminar on the Magna Carta for Women as a major activity in the 18-day campaign on violence against women and children, or BAUC. I'm very grateful to have been invited to give to you an inspirational message, but I am the one inspired in this activity today. An inspirational message, hopefully, to all the participants, especially to our women attendees. Please allow me to emphasize in this message about women empowerment, which is worthy of discussion as even at the present time and even with the advocacies, there are still women who suffer from violence. In the study conducted by the World Health Organization, it says that 30% of women worldwide have been subjected to physical and or sexual abuse by their partners. Globally, as many as 38% of all murders of women are committed by their intimate partners. In addition to intimate partner violence, there is also a global report which reveals that 6% of women have been sexually assaulted by someone other than a partner, although data for non-partner sexual violence are more limited. Another alarming reality on violence against women has been brought about by the pandemic because of a number of studies conducted by different organizations and sectors. Women's exposure to abusive partners are known risk factors, and our known risk factors has shown as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and its social and economic consequences, while their access to treatment has been limited. This shows that humanitarian crisis and displacement can worsen current forms of violence against women, such as violence perpetrated by intimate partners and non-partner sexual violence, and can also lead to new forms of other violence against women. In the light of these disturbing realities, there's a need for us to advocate for women empowerment, which means encouraging, inspiring women to be strong and make them free from violence, free from domestic violence. Let us unite behind one goal to develop.
Provide a song category. Sino yung Game Master? Diyan yung tanong ng ating sambayanang Pilipino. Number 3. Each year should
Excuse po, would you mind po if you turn off your microphone? Thank you po.
Given a set of options.
In the light of these disturbing realities, there is a need for us to advocate for women empowerment, which means encouraging and inspiring women to be strong and make them free from domestic violence. Let us unite, hold hands behind one goal to develop every woman's capacities in every sector so that they can have a voice, particularly in decision making. Women must be empowered for us to enjoy basic rights and privileges as well. Women's status will be raised through education. And that's why we are very grateful for the Center for God because of their advocacies in educating women and children, training, raising awareness, and literacy, which becomes part of our effort to end violence against women and children, which will make them a valuable asset in development. Women will not only better their position, but will also contribute to nation building, to economic prosperity, to development. However, in order to attain women's empowerment, both men and women must fully participate in the development process. On a personal note, and in my concluding remarks, concluding talk or message, as a conclusion, I am here hopefully to be able to encourage our women participants and all other participants, men and women alike, all of us, to unite and fight for women's empowerment and fight against gender inequality. We must exercise our human rights. There was one writer who said, "Be a woman who supports other women, complement each other, give words of encouragement, empower each other." And on a final note also, I would say also, be proud of our womanhood. Let us enhance it. Let us use it to serve others. Let us be strong in righteousness. Thank you very much. Congratulations and marahay na hapon po sa Indugabos.
Thank you, Ma'am Ami, for your message. Ladies and gentlemen, this webinar won't be complete without the message of our own president. Without further ado, let us welcome our ever-supportive president, Dr. Arnulfo M. Mascareñas, SUC President 4.
The Director of the Center for Gender and Development of Bicol University, Dr. Noel Rofer, to our highly esteemed resource speaker in this webinar, to our guide coordinators from various colleges, my dear participants and guests, good afternoon. With the COVID-19 pandemic ushering the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression of the 1930s, the world is at the edge of an economic precipice, with every sphere of public life, from health to security to education to social protection, is standing on shaky ground. But while the virus does not discriminate, its impact is falling particularly hard on the shoulders of Filipino women, as gender and socioeconomic status operate as fault lines, severely restricting their capacity to cope with the pandemic. Today's event is a milestone in the Bicol region as we gather together to honor the past by celebrating the gains made in achieving gender equality, embrace the present by examining what gender equality looks like today, and envision the future by recognizing the opportunities and threats in reducing the gender gap in the Philippines. Given our present pandemic reality, it is imperative that we use a gender lens in examining the distinct challenges that Filipino women are facing today as pandemic-induced repercussions, such as increased economic insecurity, sexual violence, and the threat of reduced education opportunities can undermine the efforts and derail the progress that have already been made in the area of gender equality. Friends, let me emphasize that gender equality is not just a fundamental human right. In the words of UN Women Deputy Executive Director Laxmi Puri, gender equality is the biggest transformer and enabler for achieving sustainable development. Given that previous studies suggest that the pandemic has deepened pre-existing gender and social inequalities in the country, it is important that we acknowledge that there is a clear and present danger to the well-being of Philippine women and translate this recognition into meaningful action to advance women empowerment and gender equality in our country. To our venerable guest speaker, Attorney Maria Cleofe Sandoval, author of the Magna Carta of Women, thank you for your commitment to champion the causes of the Philippine women, especially those in the marginalized sector. Indeed, this comprehensive women's human rights law that seeks to eliminate discrimination against women is a valuable contribution as it is grounded in a local reality and reflective of the global agenda for gender equality. To my fellow Bicolanos, let us proactively take part in recognizing, respecting, and promoting the rights of women as defined and guaranteed in the Magna Carta of Women, because the responsibility of achieving gender equality is not only of the state and the private sector, but the society as a whole. We must all do our share because gender equality is everyone's responsibility. As the premier university in the region, our commitment to gender equality finds expression in our concerted effort to leverage education as a vital tool in achieving gender equality. Through our ethos and praxis, we have integrated gender and development in our curriculum through our gender-sensitive teaching pedagogies and course content, and mainstream God in our systems, structures, policies, and projects. Consequently, we vow to pursue gender mainstreaming at Bicol University because we are cognizant that gender equality is crucial to the achievement of our vision of a world-class university, producing leaders and change agents for social transformation and development. On this note, let me extend my gratitude to Dr. Noel Raffer, the Director of the Center for Gender and Development of Bicol University, for spearheading this worthwhile event. Thank you for your unwavering commitment in promoting the rights of women.
Recording in
To all the
progress.
participants in today's event, I urge you to add your voice in the global call to make gender equality the norm. This is our moral responsibility to the future generation. Thank you very much. Mabuhay ang kababaihang Pilipino.
Sir Noel Lacey. Thank you, Ma'am Ami, for the very inspiring and insightful messages you imparted this afternoon. Your words will surely guide us and our participants as we tread a new path towards gender equality and a violence-free community. Surely, your messages will motivate us to strive harder. So may I request everyone to give a resounding virtual clap to our two officials. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mamara, and from the Mariners Polytechnic Colleges, from BUGC, maraming salamat. Okay, so wag na po nating patagalin pa as I think everybody's excited to hear the talk of our resource speaker for this afternoon. We now have come to the highlight of this webinar. So let me invite again my boss to grace our screen once again, Dr. Noel R. Raffer, to introduce our guest speaker.
Thank you very much, Gretchen. Allow me to screen share. Before I proceed, I would like to acknowledge as well the RTC 5, PNP RTC 5 Assistant Chief Police Major sorry, having some technical difficulties. Again, let me acknowledge the presence of the PNP RTC 5 Assistant Chief Police Major Gabrentina, as well as the different officials, God-focal persons of state universities and colleges in the Bicol region and other agencies such as the provincial government of Albay and other provinces in the region. I am truly grateful for this afternoon, most especially that our guest speaker for this activity accepted my unworthy invitation to be with us. And I'm really so excited, humbled, and honored to introduce to you today the very person behind major implementing rules and regulations of pertinent laws in the land in support to women's rights. Indeed, there is no doubt that she is a very intelligent one, being a consistent honor student from elementary to postgraduate studies. She is a class valedictorian in the elementary, first honors in high school, a scholarship recipient at the Ateneo de Manila University, and graduated with a BA degree in economics, and a Dean's Lister at the Ateneo de Manila College of Law, wherein she graduated with a Doctor of Law degree, and eventually became a member of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines. With such superb scholastic background, what more could we expect but she being able to further study at prestigious institutions of higher learning here and abroad. First, at Lund University in Sweden on the equal status and human rights of women, at the Asian Institute of Management on bridging leadership, and at the Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies, Hawaii, USA on advanced security cooperation. She was also able to obtain various very high managerial and leadership positions in the country, such as becoming a chief of staff for political legislation officer, chief of the Office of Representative Patricia Sarenas, party list Avance Pinay, wherein she drafted and reviewed bills on women and served as technical support to the Committee on Women of the House of Representatives. She also became the Director 3 of the Sectoral Policy Unit of the National Anti-Poverty Commission, Office of the President of the Philippines, and also the Assistant Secretary for Policy of the Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process Office of the President of the Philippines. She also became the coordinator of the Women's Unit of the Sentro ng Alternatibong Lingap Panligal or Saligan, wherein she performed alternative public interest law-related work, drafted and lobbied for gender equality legislations, including anti-sexual harassment law, Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act, Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act, the Magna Carta of Women, and provided training on laws, human rights, and related topics, and litigated cases involving marginalized sectors, mostly women, and developed and managed law-related projects for women. Friends, she also became the Associate Director for Field Operations, Leaders for Health Program of the Health Unit of the Ateneo Graduate School of Business, Ateneo de Manila University. Likewise, she also became the Project Officer of the Health Unit of the Ateneo Graduate School of Business, Ateneo de Manila University, and a faculty member of the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health. She also became the Undersecretary for Programs of the Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process, Office of the President of the Philippines, wherein she supervised the implementation of the National Action Plan on Women, Peace and Security, including leading the technical working group of the Steering Committee on National Action Plan Women, Peace and Security, among others. She is also a prolific writer, having been the main writer of the following very significant papers in line with gender-responsive legal papers. The Gender Mapping Peace and Security Frontliners during the COVID-19 pandemic for Philippine Commission Women, the interpretation of participation of Bangsamoro government in national government under RA 11054 for the World Bank, towards reversing discrimination in law, mapping laws from a gender perspective for international development law organization. She is also the main writer of the gender responsiveness of the Judiciary Gender Survey of the Court of Appeals decisions for the Asia Foundation and the Gender Equality Report, Philippines of the International Center for Transformation and Excellence in Governance for Asia Democracy Research Network. And she also drafted national rules to implementation of Social Reform and Poverty Alleviation Act, also known as the RA 8425, as well as policies on reintegration of former rebels and policies on women, peace, and security. At present, she is a faculty member of School of Law of the Ateneo de Manila University and a member of the Philippine Commission on Women, National God Resource Pool, and the president of the Centro ng Alternatibong Lingap Panligal or Saligan, wherein she also became part of the writing and editing team for its various publications, such as Primer on the Family Code, Manual for Paralegals and Violence Against Women, Manual on Sexual Harassment and Violence Against Women, and Local Registration. Are you still with me? I really am begging for your indulgence, as she is a person worth introducing and emulating with her wealth of relevant scholastic and professional experiences. For so, you will be astounded when you know that she is the main writer and consultant behind pertinent laws in the land, such as the Implementing Rules and Regulations on the Anti-Torture Law or Republic Act 9745 and the Implementing Rules and Regulations on the Safe Spaces Act or Republic Act 11313, which is another highlight of the 18-day campaign. Ladies and gentlemen, the woman behind the bill submitted to the Congress that became a law and implementing rules and regulations on the Magna Carta of Women or the Republic Act 9710. Let us actively listen, welcome, and give a virtual round of applause to a lawyer, policy, law, and gender consultant, and a staunch women's rights advocate and champion. Ladies and gentlemen, Attorney Maria Cleofi Chetty Katapang Sandoval.
Maraming salamat, Dr. Noel, and good afternoon, everyone. I hope I come to you clear. Kindly let me know, if at any point in time I disappear, my audio disappears, and I also would like to beg your indulgence. My internet is acting bad these days, so if I suddenly again disappear from the screen, I will try to come back, so just please have some patience and just wait for me to come back. This is the problem with our means of communications right now, so maraming salamat po. Marahay na hapon sa Indo Gabos. I've been going to Bicol. I've been going to Bicol for so long. I'm sorry that I have not learned the language except for the greetings here and there. My former office, Saligan, has an office in Naga, and Saligan operates in the whole Bicol region. So Bicol is a very, very important area as far as our work is concerned in terms of ensuring that the rights of the marginalized groups are addressed. So, but this afternoon, my task is to share with you the Magna Carta of Women. And as explained in the introduction, I think my claim to fame is when there was a need to write something that will eventually be submitted in Congress. I was tapped to do the initial draft of the document, which of course went around. Of course, the document eventually became a product of many women, and that's why I will explain the title to you later on. So this is not a product of one person nor of the legislative that passed this. This is a product really of a collective efforts of many women who put their hearts and minds into the making of this law. And so this afternoon, my role is really not just to explain to you the law, because anyway, we can all read, so what's the use of inviting someone? I think my role really is to give you the backstory, in a sense, to give you the story behind the writing of the law, the principles or the thoughts especially of the women who drafted the Magna Carta and the intent of the Magna Carta. So without further ado, allow me just to share my screen, and so we can begin the discussion. And I hope you can see my screen well.
Yes,
okay.
Attorney.
Sige. So again, paki-ano na lang, because you know naman the issue here with our online. I cannot see all of you. So just please alert me anytime something is going on. Sige. So, what is the relevance of having a Magna Carta of Women or a Magna Carta of Women? Why is there a need to have this document when in fact there are many documents already, many laws already addressing women's needs, women's issues? So why the need to have this kind of a law? I'd like to begin with this diagram. This is not a gender session, I know, and many of you are God experts, so I do not claim to be an expert here on this matter, but I just want to begin the discussion by presenting to you that, of course, for every policy, and then the Magna Carta is a policy response to a problem. So we ask ourselves, so then what is the problem? The problem is, as you see on the screen, and if we use the language of the United Nations, the problem is really gender discrimination. The problem is the systemic, is the historical gender discrimination that has been experienced by many women cutting across race, ethnicity, age, culture, etc., etc. No, and therefore, having this problem and the manifestations of gender oppression or gender discrimination in the Philippines has been a concern that needed to be responded to, not only by the duty bearer, not only by the state as the duty bearer, but as well the general community of women, the women's advocates that want to also contribute to addressing this issue. So as you see from the screen, when we do our analysis, this is the global analysis. Well, at least one of the analysis, in terms of understanding gender oppression, which begins with how men and women and all genders, the intersectionalities, all genders are socialized, which result in, unfortunately, assigning different roles that result in gender bias, manifested in the different forms of in the different aspects of our lives, of the lives of everyone in our society, in our economic life that we call marginalization, in the political life or in the decision making, in the roles that are assigned to us, and on the issue of violence against women, which is the subject of the 18-day campaign. And so therefore, if this is the global analysis and this is the global problem that is presented, although of course the manifestations and the types of how, for example, violence against women is manifested all over the world is different, as you go from culture to culture, there is a common understanding that this set of concerns, as you see here presented before us, need to be addressed. And therefore, also, globally, there is a response, that we signed on to. Pumirma tayo dito. So in 1979, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination was adopted by the United Nations, coming from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1949. So since 1949, many women have been working on addressing the specific concerns of women, and well, just as an aside, because as I said, part of my role here this afternoon is really not just to give you what's written, because anyway you can read that, but maybe just to share with you some of the behind the stories, stories behind the scenes, the CEDAW, if some of you may know, the initial drafts of CEDAW was really written, or among those who wrote the initial drafts was really a Filipina who was a diplomat at the time, the late Leticia Ramos Shahani, who along with other diplomats came together to write a draft, which eventually became the CEDAW. So in a sense, the Philippines, when they say, yung CEDAW is a product of the Western thinking, and it has nothing to do with what's happening in the Philippines, etc., which is one of the, one of the things they say against CEDAW. But really, the Philippines had a hand, because one of our own contributed her efforts, in the drafting of the CEDAW, and so the Philippines signed the CEDAW. The CEDAW is otherwise called the International Bill of Rights insofar as the women is concerned. So it contains a set of rights, general set of rights for women, but as well it contains some procedures, so it's both substantive and procedural in that sense, but it what is the value of understanding CEDAW? CEDAW, once and for all, defined what discrimination against women means. No? So, as I said, no, the Philippines, being a member of the United Nations, signed on. It is ratified. It was ratified by our Senate. So the treaty, we are the treaty called CEDAW, the convention. We are a signatory. We are a signatory to it, and we agreed to comply. The optional protocol to the CEDAW, which is like your procedure, no, on how to file reports. We also signed on to that. So every 4 years, since the ratification of the CEDAW, we would file or we would submit our reports to the CEDAW, to the committee. And the CEDAW in turn, the committee in turn, will look at our reports and see whether or not the Philippines, how compliant is the Philippines, no? How are we at par, or how are we ensuring that the rights stipulated, enunciated, promoted by the CEDAW are being localized or interpreted in our local laws, no, and policies. We also note that, of course, the CEDAW defines, as mentioned earlier, no, in our introduction, the definition of discrimination against women. In gender classes, no, that maybe some of the professors here would teach, no, we know that basically we're talking of distinction, exclusion, and restriction, no. At that time, also, we note that the language of the CEDAW, between then and now, the language in terms of gender has also evolved. And so I'd like to also explain that in relation to how the Magna Carta of Women was written, no, vis-a-vis the language of CEDAW. So we talk about CEDAW, and we talk about the need to understand that at the end of the whole exercise, what is it that we want to achieve? Why are we here discussing about this? We want to understand how to achieve gender equality. But in the language of CEDAW, this is not just what do we mean by equality, no? This is not equality in the sense of being at par with each other. What you can do, I can do. That does not mean that is not the equality that we're talking about. Nor are we only talking about of de jure equality or equality in law, which we find in our Constitution, Article 2, Section 14, no? Fundamental equality before the law. The CEDAW wants us to go one step further, which is de facto equality. What is de facto equality? It means not just equality before the law, not just equality as written, but equality as it happens, no? Or as it changes the lives of men and women. In other words, what is important is, are we able to translate the law into the betterment, into making the lives of women who are in a situation of inequality better. And therefore, that is really the ultimate aim. That is when gender equality is achieved. And so it is very important, therefore, for all of us to understand that it is not enough that you have the law. What is more important is what happens after you have the law. How do you now ensure that that law becomes real? The intent of that law becomes real in the lives of women, most particularly. No? We're talking about both addressing direct and indirect discrimination. No? This is not a class on gender, and therefore we will not go deeply and in detail on this. I'm beginning the discussion here because this laid the foundation. These laws these principles, these international documents are the foundation of the document that we're going to talk about, no? And the language that you will see, or the language that you will read in the law are really culled from these international documents, no? Because as discussed, no, by the committee or by the group that drafted, no, the Magna Carta, when we were initially talking about this, we said we wanted the international agreements to have a life, no, to come to life in our local jurisdiction through the laws that we are going to pass, no. Aside from the CEDAW, it is also important for us to understand that there are strategies already again agreed upon by the state, no, which particularly we find in the Beijing Platform for Action, which is the product of the Fourth World Conference on Women 1995, where there are 12 areas of concern, and therefore the states who signed on to this platform for action are expected now to work on these 12 areas of concern. So again, we find the language of Beijing in the Magna Carta later on. And lastly, the Sustainable Development Goals, no, which really intends to push the attainment of gender equality, as you see particularly in goal number 5. No? So all of these international documents are basis, no, on why we have a document right now that is called the Magna Carta of Women. And the CEDAW tells us that the state parties should now ensure that they translate, no, they do all the appropriate measures to ensure that whatever it is that are agreed upon are translated, as I said, to local laws. And so therefore, we find ourselves in a situation of ensuring that what is the global, what is agreed upon globally comes down to us as a policy, no, particularly in the areas where we work, no. So how the question now we ask is, from our agreements that we have entered into, how will now Bicol University, how are you now responsible to making sure that you contribute now to the attainment of gender equality? What is now your role? How do you now particularly contribute? And where do you now situate yourselves, no, in the area of working towards gender equality? There have been laws that have been passed, no, even before the RA 9710, which are equally important and sort of created the milestones, no, sort of build the milestones, created the building blocks, where eventually RA 9710 stood on, no, or really got its it's not just inspiration, no, but the basis on why the different provisions are written, and really the spirit, no, behind the writing of RA 9710. And we begin with Women in Development and Nation Act, Building Act, which really brought a sense of ensuring that women participate. No? The participation of women in nation building is very important. The role of women having the capacity to enter into military school, to enter into contracts without the consent of the spouse is very important. No, having the agency, no, to decide for themselves. No, but of course, it was realized that all of these laws and all of these programs is very difficult to achieve, very difficult to attain the objectives without the budget needed. No, so since 1995, there have been attempts to making sure that each government agency would allot a particular budget. No? So, but what happened then was, because the General Appropriations Act had to be approved every year, so what happened was the PCW, then called the National Commission on the Role of Filipino Women, NCRFW, would have to lobby every year to make sure that there's a line in the general provision section on the gender budget. No, you find in the beginning of the GAA, no, usually under section 27 or 28 of the GAA, that there should be a provision on gender budget. No, in the beginning there was no percentage, then later on a certain percentage of at least 5%, as you know, no, which is now the language of the budget. They had to make sure that it's not deleted, because every year in 1995, no, and onwards, every year the lawmakers would ask why there is a need for such a provision, no, and therefore there's every year there's a there's a need to defend, and not only defend, make sure that it doesn't get erased, no, and doesn't get deleted. And so that is also the reason why in the Magna Carta you find a provision on the budget, no, because there was a big discussion on whether or not to legislate this. Instead of the every year battle that happened, no, since 1995. Parang tight guarding every year kasi babantayan mo yung Congress na hindi nila tatanggalin, no, baka paggising mo, paglabas nung the whole document, wala pala yung section na yon on gender, then patay ngayon lahat ng projects, diba? So it's very it's a very important section, very crucial, and therefore the need to eventually legislate on it, no. So as I said, every year the Philippines would go to CEDAW, would go to New York, would submit and but explain if there is a need to send a delegation to explain what the Philippines have been doing, no, and so far as the implementation of CEDAW is concerned. And after I think the fourth report, if I'm not mistaken, fourth and fifth, if I'm not mistaken, reporting cycle, one of the comments, so after reporting, there's every time there will be concluding comments. The concluding comments are the responses of the members of the committee that studied the report, no? One of the comments was, why is it that the Philippines had signed on to the CEDAW since 1981, ratified the CEDAW in your Senate since 1981, and yet you do not have a law up to that point, 2006, no? You do not have a law that defines what discrimination is. So sabi nila, ba't ganon? Kung ano-anong laws ang ipinapasa ninyo, pero wala kayong law that articulates or that defines what you mean by non-discrimination. And so when the delegation came back to the Philippines, they looked for a women's group that will be able to immediately work on anti-discrimination or a gender equality law. Initially, that was the term that was used, no? So initially, the draft was called the gender equality law. And so, as I said, no, I was tasked, no, to draft the initial document, and the initial document went around. So it went nationwide. There were a series of consultations, and eventually, a document was eventually completed, no. And then the practical problem of then what to do with this draft, no, and knowing, because we've had experience also in terms of lobbying for laws in Congress, no. This was 2006. By the time the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act had been passed, we also lobbied for that law. The VAUSI law had been passed, we also lobbied for that law, and we know that there have been many laws languishing, no, in Congress, depending on the priorities, of course, of that administration. And so we thought, what is the best way to make sure that we pass a law immediately? And we looked at what was pending at that time in Congress. And at that time, there was a bill called the Magna Carta for Rural Women, which was really a bill enumerating all the rights of women, of rural women. So we talked to the advocates of that bill, which was in first reading at the time, no? So we talked to them and we said, can we submit this bill that we have, the gender equality bill that we have, and substitute it for the Magna Carta of rural women, for rural women. But instead of calling it the Magna Carta for rural women, we call it Magna Carta for women. Okay. Eventually, when the consultations went on, so they agreed, no? Payag sila, sige, substitute bill na lang. Anyway, nandyan na yan. So instead of beginning from scratch, sasakay na lang tayo dun sa nandun na at nakaumpisa na, no? Sa Committee on Women. The women also said, this is not a Magna Carta for women. This is not, again, something that is delivered to women. The document is a product of Women. This document underwent series of consultations in Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao from the time it began. So it took 1 year of consultations until the bill was finalized. And so therefore, this is not something that is again done by some other people and delivered to women, where the women are now recipients of something, no, or a beneficiary of something. Kasi pag sinabi mo daw for, parang this is for you. So parang I'm giving this to you, and therefore the women had nothing to do with it. Sabi nila, hindi, this is our product, and therefore this is of us. And therefore the preposition is very important. Pinag-awayan po yan ng mahaba, no? Yung dalawang words na yan, ang preposition na yan. Mahabang pag-debate po ang preposition na gagamitin dyan. And therefore eventually it was agreed that the title would be Magna Carta of Women. And so that is the story of the title. And so in the 14th Congress, you now have a bill that was renamed Magna Carta of Women that eventually passed into RA 9710. This is also the reason why when you look at the bill, or when you look at the law, when you look at the marginalized section portion, the rural women section is the longest. Because nga, this bill originated from the rights of rural women, and therefore we could not delete what was in the original bill. So kinuha lahat yon at inilagay ngayon dito sa Magna Carta of Women. And so therefore you will, if you compare the provision of the rural women as compared to other sectors, no, medyo pinakamahaba yung rural women kasi nga andun na sila kompleto na no. Okay. So how is this? So this is a document that clearly would enunciate what was in SIDO. What is in SIDO? What is not just the spirit, but the language of SIDO. That was clearly agreed upon by the women. And therefore, to the extent possible, the language of SIDO will be carried. And so if you look at the SIDO, therefore, the convention, and you look at the Magna Carta of Women side by side, you will see a complete cut and paste on some of the parts. So ano po yan? Plagiarism, I think allowed plagiarism naman, because really the intent of the international community is really to have a localization of the international document to the extent possible. But there's also an agreement, of course, that we should, of course, apply the situation of the Philippines. No? Hindi naman siya cut and paste na blindly cutting and pasting only, no? But clearly knowing that the spirit and the language of the SIDO should be contained in this document, no? Okay, so this is a discrimination against women law. And if you look at how this is written, or how this is put together, the first three rules, and so this is 2006, no? Eventually, the law was passed 2009. So it took us 3 years to lobby, to draft, to lobby, etc., for the law. So the draft was finished in 2006, and the law was passed in 2009. So between that period, there is a three-year period to rewrite, to lobby, to consult, etc., making sure that the version of the House and the version of the Senate are the same, so that in terms of strategically lobbying, sabay sila, and therefore pag pasa sa isa, pasa din sa isa, something like that, no? So again, learning from our past experience of lobbying for laws, no? But we know that if this is coming from SIDO, so SIDO was 1981, this is 2006. There have been many things, there have been many, as I said, no, the language of the SIDO, the language of the UN in terms of gender equality have grown also. And therefore, we wanted all of this to be included in our law. And so if you find now, therefore, the language of rules 1 to 3, you will now see that these are the language at that time, no, 2006, no, of course, between 2006 and now, may mga pagbabago pa rin or improvements, no? we try to incorporate the language of gender equality as we find in the contemporary documents at that time, no? And therefore, this is rules 1 to 3 is in a sense an improvement of the original convention, no? So the rules 1 to 3 now contains the general resolutions, the GRs, the sort of the IRRs, no, of CEDAW that have been passed until that time, no. So if you look at so that's how the first three rules are written. So because the Magna Carta is kind of long, no, so I'm explaining to you how the reasoning of how it is written and how it is put together, no? So the first three would be all the principles coming from 1981, coming from CEDAW up to 2006. So we looked at all the important documents and put it there. Importantly, this is a women's rights document. That is the main subject of this document. The Magna Carta is a recognition that women's rights are human rights, no? Then you find the next two chapters or two rules as the rights, no? The rule 4 are general rights of all women. But because we are coming from the Magna Carta for rural women, we know that there are marginalized sectors, very important that women are there, very important that they are marginalized, and therefore their rights need to be recognized. And so therefore, while you have the general rights in Rule 4, you have specific rights of marginalized sector for Rule 5. No? So this would be on top of or over and above or in addition to the rights, the general rights of all women. No? So and then the last chapters would be the institutional mechanisms, where importantly there are two main subject matter, no? Gender mainstreaming and gender budgeting. So that those would be, so if you will be, you know, so you kind of, if you look at the Magna Carta, it's kind of thick and long, and so baka tinatamad kayong basahin, no? So what I'm trying to explain to you is how you will be able to understand the lay of the land, as it were, no? How the law is written and the reasoning and the, kumbaga, the logic behind the putting together of the law, no? So when we submitted this to Congress, this is how it is already, no? And so they did not touch this. They did not. They went with it, no? So so if you look at the languaging, as I said, no, look at the language that you find from Rule 1 to 3, you will find that this language are the recognition of women's rights as they have been recognized already at that time, no, in 2006. So basically, that women's rights are human rights, and that this is a rights-based document, no, and that what is important here is equality de facto and equality de jure. And that therefore this is not just a law that is written, but what is important is the recognition that this should impact the lives of women, and that this should change for the better the lives of women that are in a discriminatory situation, and therefore there should be a need to make sure that all aspects of their lives are affected. All aspects of their lives are affected by what is written in this document, because that is equality de facto. And all the principles of human rights are incorporated here. So you look at the definition of discrimination against women. This is CEDAW definition with updating, as it were. No, CEDAW would say based on sex. Now here we say based on gender. So may mga ganon. You see all political, economic, socio-cultural, because this should be affecting the all aspects of women's lives, no? Which is should be an improvement from what you find in the Constitution. Just as a quick story on the Article 2, Section 14 of the Constitution, when this was being written in 1986, the women's groups lobbied for CEDAW definition, which means not just de jure but de facto, no, gender equality. But for one reason or another, what you find in the language of the Constitution is fundamental equality between men and women before the law. The women's groups are not satisfied with that because we know by now that that is equality de jure. That is only one half of the gender equality that we sought to achieve, what we want to achieve. And so we want a language that will say that equality that will affect all aspects of their lives, because that is equality de facto. And because that is, while that is not in the Constitution, well, we thought of putting it in the Magna Carta. So therefore, the Magna Carta is defining gender equality based on CEDAW, defining de jure and defining de facto equality. Okay, so that's rules 1 to 3. Rule 4, as I said, are all the rights, no? So if you look at the rights as written in the CEDAW, ano po yan, halos kinopya namin ng pati yung order of appearance niya practically the same, no? But we also thought that, teka muna ha, this is a law that should reflect the situation of the Philippines. So what is the current situation of the Philippines at the time ba? In terms of the needs, in terms of policy, in terms of what's happening. At that time, 2006, there have been, as I said, many laws naman from 1986, no? Responding to gender-based issues, no? You already have sexual harassment, anti-rape, BAUSI, etc., etc. So we said, the problem of these laws that we already have at the time was the implementation. So we said, why do we not include here in the Magna Carta some of the laws that we think need a little push in terms of implementation, because they have been languishing, as it were, in terms of implementation, no? And one of which is Republic Act 8505, which is Rape Assistance, Rape Victims Assistance Act, no? Which mandates that there should be a rape crisis center in every province, no? Up to now, wala pa po yan. Correct me if I'm wrong. Also, the law says that every victims of gender-based violence should be attended by women of the same sex. So therefore, the doctor that will do the medical legal, the prosecutor, the police should be a woman. This is also the first time this is the law that says that there should be a women's desk in every police station, police precinct. No? So this is our Republic Act 8505. So we thought in helping that law, instead of amending that law, we thought of including here this provision of an incremental increase in the recruitment of women who attend to the needs of victims of gender-based violence. So this is reference to Republic Act 8505. No? As well as at the time United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 in terms of women, peace, and security. So you find the second set, or UNSCR 1820 particularly, that pertains to gender-based violence happening in situation of armed conflict. No? Of course, at every instance, and you will find this in the Magna Carta, ang kulit-kulit niyan na dapat lagi mag-aaral ng human rights, dapat may gender sensitivity training, lahat-lahat dapat mag-aral. So you find this repeatedly, no, in so many sections, no. But it began here in section 9, I think this is, no, of rule 4. And we reiterated the vow desk in every barangay, no? So again, no, this is, mind you, of course, 2009, we are to 2021. Again, the question in our minds is, to what extent have we been implementing these provisions, no? It is also very important, of course, at the time, you know, the whole issue of climate change and the whole issue of making sure that women are part of the planning and the implementation and the whole process of disaster, dealing with disaster. And so this section deals with that, no? Protection for all forms of calamity, making sure that the packs that will be given will respond to the reproductive health, the reproductive needs of women. And so, okay naman ang delata, okay naman ang noodles, but you know, women are lactating mothers, women have their monthly periods, and therefore that kind of sensitivity is very important as well, no? And of course, in making sure that women participate, no, in decision making. So it's always, if you will see, the delivery of service, but also the participation in decision making. So those two aspects are always written into the provisions, no? It's not enough that they are provided service. What is more important is they are included.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
They are included in the planning, in the decision making, in the whole process, no? Hindi lang recipient. Kasi nga Magna Carta of Women nga ito eh. Hindi ka lang recipient, no? You are part of the whole process, no? Another important aspect is the aspect on participation and representation. This is CEDAW language again, no? And the term temporary special measure and affirmative action is CEDAW language. No? What does that mean? That means that if you need to impose rules, example quota, to make sure that you attain a particular percentage, no, in terms of representation of women in decision making, then do it. Of course, this is temporary special measures, as the term implies. Once gender equality is achieved, once the quota or the affirmative action is no longer needed, then you can remove it. In other words, quota means, for example, kunyari, sabi mo, at least 30% should be women, or at least half should be women, etc., etc. Those are examples of affirmative actions or temporary special, or ensuring that X percentage are for the budget, no? So like the gender budget is really a temporary special measure or a form of an affirmative action, really, no? So, ito, yung sa development councils, no? Because at that time, ang problema in the local development, in the local government units, the women's sector, the women's council cannot be convened, no? And so therefore, we said if the women's council cannot be convened, let's make sure that the different development councils, the different planning bodies in the local government unit should make sure that women sit. So if you cannot have a women's council, solo na women's council, then make sure that they sit across the different planning bodies, no? Of course, as well as in other international bodies, political parties, and the private sector. Now, another problem is, of course, sabi nga natin, no? Equality de facto, no? So dapat before the law, there should be no discriminatory provisions, no? If you study our laws, kunyari, our laws on family, particularly, or laws on crimes, have been written. Of course, at this time, yung family code natin has already been amended, but the revised penal code circa 1932. No, so the laws were made in 1932, and so you can imagine how antiquated some of the provisions are in terms of women. And so there's a section here that tells us that we need to amend, and we enumerated some. We gave a sample. So if you look at the IRR, there are samples of what needed to be repealed or amended. So I will just discuss some of these, no. May mga provisions in the Family Code. The Family Code was amended in 1987, no, coming from the 1950 Civil Code. Okay na sana, marami namang binago noong 1987, no? But there are provisions still that are discriminatory to women. So for example, there's a section there that if you are between 18 to 21 and you want to marry, you need to get a consent, no, from your parents, no? And ang sabi sa batas, the consent will come from the father, the mother, etc., in that order. So consent muna ni father ang unang importanteng kunin. Sabi namin, bakit? Parents yan dapat, di ba? So yung mga ganon. There are provisions there in terms of how to manage the properties, how to parental authority, where to live, mga ganyan-ganyan na ang sabi, it's the decision of the spouses, but in case of disagreement, the husband's decision will prevail. Sabi namin, bakit may ganun pa? So, you know, these things you need to delete from the law, no? In the law also, if one wants to file for legal separation, one of the grounds is the physical violence should be repeated, no, for legal separation to happen. So magpabugbog ka muna ng maraming beses para maging ground. So ang isang bugbog, hindi pa yan daw ground, no? Sabi namin, teka muna, baka you need to understand what violence against women mean. In terms of the revised penal code, there are also areas that need to be changed, no? Up to now, the law on adultery and concubinage is still there. These are laws that treat sexual infidelity differently, where it says a married woman, if you are caught having sexual intercourse with a person other than your spouse, then that's adultery. But for concubinage, you need to have 3 circumstances, no? Either A, iuwi mo sa bahay kung asan yung asawa mo, legal wife, or B, you do sexual act in scandalous circumstances, or 3, you cohabit with that person, no? And if that doesn't happen, then there's no concubinage. So there are different treatments in terms of how sexual infidelity can be criminalized, no? So prostitutes are only women according to the revised penal code. The law on premature marriages has been repealed recently in 2015. Ano tong premature marriages? If a woman becomes a widow within 300 days ng pagka-widow niya, nag-asawa siya, that's a criminal act according to the revised penal code, no? Kasi for reasons that you may be introducing into the bloodline or into the legitimate or inheritance or property or of the deceased husband, child that is not of the husband, no? So it's protecting the name and the properties and the of the husband, no? And of course, the inheritance of the children. Article 247 is still here, death inflicted under exceptional circumstances. This means that if a husband catches the wife having sexual intercourse with another person and the husband kills or inflicts injuries on that person, no, the other person, then the penalty is destierro. Destierro is a penalty that means you are banned, you are banished. You cannot come within 25 kilometers from a particular place for a particular period of time. So it's not imprisonment. Kasi daw, ano daw yan, yung maintindihan mo daw yan kasi yung asawa, and this is only for the men, ha? So a man catching the wife, wala siyang imprisonment, wala siyang criminal, ang criminal liability niya, ang penalty niya is destierro, not imprisonment. Ibabanish lang siya. But if it's the wife, there's no equivalent provision. If it's the wife that catches the man and the wife kills the other woman or whatever, that's parricide or homicide or murder, depending, no? This is only for the men, no? So in other words, there are these provisions, no, which including night work prohibition, so Code of Muslim Personal Laws that allows arranged marriages or marriages below 18 or polygamy, no? So in other words, there are provisions in our laws that need to be amended, and so we thought we'd include it here because the part of ensuring non-discrimination is attending to these laws, no? So ayan, so merong nagalaw na, merong na-amend na, pero marami pang nandiyan pa rin hanggang ngayon. Now, I think this will be of interest to you. Of course, there is a section on elimination of discrimination in education, no? So that means ensuring that our materials, no, ito ang long-standing issue ng ating mga parents and even the I think members of the academe, no, that to make sure that our materials, the curricula, the learning materials that are used, no, are gender responsive, gender fair, that we ensure that women are enrolled or undertake not only the traditional but as well the non-traditional courses, that there are scholarships for that, no? And this one is this one had a lot of discussion when this was being written, no? That you cannot expel a woman, either a student or a worker, a faculty member, because that person became pregnant outside of marriage. No? So the schools cannot turn away or cannot refuse admission or cannot expel on account of being pregnant, no, outside of marriage. No? Of course, this elicited a lot of contention, especially from the Catholic schools, prompting even one to say that, o sige, ibatas nyo yan, di kami susunod. No? We're not necessarily going to follow, but sige, bahala kayo if you want to put that in the law. No? Because this was, okay, saan ba nakuha to? Nasa SIDO ba yan? Nasaan ba yan nakasulat sa SIDO? Remember I told you, we wanted to localize SIDO. But of course, aside from the cutting and pasting from the SIDO, from the document, we wanted to reflect the realities of women in the Philippines. And in the course of our consultation all over the country, this came out. Sinabi ng mga sa consultation, ano po ito, resulta ng consultation. They said, maraming na-expel kasi nabuntis. As a matter of fact, in the consultation, in the hearing for this bill in Congress, one regional office of a government agency said, we don't naman po expel, but we encourage them to enroll in the next region. So, yeah. Ano yan on the record po, sinabi niya yan. No? They do not expel naman daw. But they talk to the women and they encourage women to leave this school and just enroll in the next region na lang. So, region 1 sila, punta ka na lang region 2, ganon. So because this is a reality we felt, so we fought for it. No? Even if, as I said, some of the participants to the hearing in Congress did not want this, no? And actually said, hindi kami susunod dyan. No? This other one is also a product of consultation. So this was long before our Heidelin, long before our first gold, no? Where women, according to the athletes that were consulted, no, women athletes, the women who represent the country in different sporting competitions were not provided the same support as the men. So I would like to disabuse your mind. For some of you here doing your gender budget, no, we've been consulted here, we've been asked, yun daw bang intram sa school, kasama ba yan? Kasi sabi sa Magna Carta, equal participation in sports. So ang mga sports fest, ang mga intramurals ay gagamitin ang GAD budget. Hindi po yan yung ibig sabihin yan. Ang ibig sabihin yan, kung you represent the country, competitive sports, dapat babae ka, representative ka in basketball, in all sorts of sporting events, there should be equal consultation. I remember I had a meeting here with Akiko Thompson. No? Kinausap ko siya dito and consulted with her. She was then with the Philippine, I forget now the sports organization that she belonged to, no? But I went to her office and consulted her and asked, because the way we did the consultation, we asked them, if you want to submit a language on this section, you submit it to us. Because you are the ones affected, you tell us what you want because we will write that in the law. That's the way we dealt with the different sectors. No? So many of these are language coming from the women, from the sector themselves. No? So hindi kami yung nag-invento ng language ito. My role then was just
stopped.
My role then was just to clean up and put it in legalese. Gawin mo lang mukhang batas, no? Pero so they can write it in whatever way they want to write. I will convert it into law or how it sounds in law. Parang ganon, no? So The next one is non-discriminatory portrayal of women in media. So again, this is medyo self-explanatory naman, no? So we want to raise consciousness in terms of changing the mindset of media, commercials, etc. This is also not in SIDO, the rights of women in the military, but it's also a product of the consultations, no? Because at that time, again, this provision is no longer available now, natanggal na po. But at that time, in the military especially, you cannot marry within the first 3 years. Once you enter the military, the service, you cannot marry within the first 3 years. So, mas grabe pa kay Miss Universe ito, no? So, sabi namin, bakit naman? Kasi daw hindi daw yung career, no? So kasi daw pag nag-asawa,
recording in progress.
Ayaw na ma-assign sa etc. So in other words, it affects the career, no? So sabi namin, bakit sa lalaki walang ganon? So in other words, so this is why we have it here. And so there is a section in the IRR section 18 on increasing the quota. Right now, the PNP law has a quota of, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 10%. I can't remember na, no? Of recruits in the schools, no? So or 5% ba? So the law says 20% and eventually increasing, no? In the PMA, PMPA, and all the other teaching schools for the military, no? So this is very important in terms again of increasing women in the military, in light also of Women, Peace and Security, no? United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325, no? So yan po yan. At this time also, 2006, we did not have a reproductive health law. And you know very well how many times the reproductive health law had been passed, have been sidelined, etc., etc. So this is one section during the 3 years that this is in Congress where this elicited much debate, no? To ensure walang abortion, etc., etc. So all of those arguments on it will result to abortion, it will result to all of these things, no? So eventually this was passed, but let me tell you a story. So this involved provision of services, A, that's letter A. So all the listing here refers to different services, and B is education. So section A is for all the services, all types of services, and for women of all ages, no? Children, reproductive age, and senior. So dapat lahat, and all areas, physical, mental, etc., etc. So yun po yung coverage ng services. Of course, this is all you may say overtaken, no, by the reproductive health law that we have right now. But let me tell you just a story. When we were about to pass this, no, so what do I mean? Tapos na ang third reading, both houses, may bicameral na, you know, the process of making a law, diba? You pass it in third reading, then you try to make sure that you have one version sa bicameral committee. So tapos na yan. Ang natitira na lang was the voting each house, for each house, no? And then it will be sent to the office of the president for signing. Nandun na po, nasa huling stage na. So we were there in the house, in Batasan, waiting for the Magna Carta to be scheduled. The deputy speaker comes to us and tells us, ayaw ipaschedule yung batas nyo, yung Magna Carta, kasi Malacanang tells us they want ethical to be included in the language of the law. Referring to family planning. So alam na namin, abortion na naman to. Abortion na naman. Sinabi na namin, wala pong abortion dyan. Legal, safe, no, lahat ng language. No, they wanted the word ethical. Because if we don't want daw, if we don't agree daw, ethical to be included, then the law will not be passed. Now, we huddled. The women's advocates huddled. Sabi namin, we insist on not having the word ethical there. This is the end of the line, as it were, in terms of this law, no? We've had 3 years of lobbying for this law, doing the back and forth, doing everything, all the legal work. This is the last of the line, and they wanted one word. They wanted one word to be included. And so we consulted. We consulted a member of the team who is a doctor, and she said, if it refers to ethical medical ethics, then that can be legislated. But if you're talking of other ethics, how can you legislate ethics? How can you legislate what is wrong and right as far as a person is concerned? That's very difficult, no? So here, all I'm just saying is, other than the story, other than the cuento, is ethical here means medical ethics, no? So that's this is not what many of the things I'm sharing with you, you will not find in the congressional debates, because not a lot of matter here were debated. So everything that I'm telling you are the interpretation coming from the minds of the women that wrote the law. These are not what I have just shared with you for the past 30 minutes or so, 45 minutes or so, may not be written in any legal instrument or any legal document, including this term ethical, no, and why this is here. But that's the story, no? And we mean here medical ethics, no? So yan. Also, part of the consultation, meron na namang nagsabi na bakit ba ang mga babae na may polyp, may cyst, may ganyan, pag nag-leave, isinasama yan sa sick leave or maternity leave. Hindi ka naman nanganak. So this is why we have this special law, again, the special provision, again, coming from the consultations, of the realities of women. So there's now a provision here. I don't know if any one of you has gotten any benefits from this one. Anyone that had to undergo surgery due to gynecological disorder, but you did not give birth, there's no baby that came out, it's called a special leave benefit, equivalent to 2 months. And eventually, but you need to fulfill this. You need to have rendered at least 6 months for a continuous 12 months. That is not cumulative and non-convertible, this leave, no? And eventually, the civil service and the DOLE issued guidelines, no, for how to avail of this special leave, no. So in other words, aside from the maternity and the sick leave and the VLs, no, this is one law, the Magna Carta, where you have additional 2 months, and the VAUSI law, where you have 7 days leave, no, for women. So in addition pa yan. So these are 2 laws where you have additional leaves for women. No? Okay. And a provision also on, of course, rights. Ito, SIDO po ito. Rights to, in a marriage, no? To choose a spouse. This is material because, as I said, no, in other, especially in the Code of Muslim Personal Laws, there's a provision on arranged marriage. And therefore, we said, no, you have the right to choose your spouse. And this has, again, the backstory here is we would have wanted this provision to amend the Code of Muslim Personal Laws, no? But the Muslim women that we talked to said, wag daw idiretso yung language na yon, because that's a different advocacy that they have to go through in their communities, and therefore you do not find any reference here to arranged marriages. Pero may betrothal on marriage dito, hindi na namin napigilan, no? So sabi namin, you cannot naman marry below 18 because that's in violation of the family code, no? So yun po yan. So that's rule 4. Rule 5 is all about marginalized sector, and here I will be just very fast, no, because this is really just where did we get, first of all, where did we get the marginalized sector? There is already a law at that time, Republic Act 8425, the Rule on Social Poverty Alleviation Act, no, the law that created the National Anti-Poverty Commission, and all of these sectors are found in that law. And so again, we thought of just improving on that law instead of creating a new one, inventing a new one. Improve on that law, use that law. And so we use the definition of that law in terms of who are the marginalized sectors and just included it here, no? And in terms of the agenda, we got the agenda of the sectors that have been presented in NAPSI, no? These are from organized groups, national, etc., etc. So you have for rural women, titling, stewardship, for urban poor, housing, for labor, decent work, social protection, no, including both formal and informal women, formal and formal labor, I mean. So for livelihood, credit, capital, technology, especially for non-formal women in the informal sector, no. Of course, for migrant women, no, the social protection when they come back. What will they do when they come back to make sure, no, to encourage them to stay, not to leave the family. Of course, there's a provision on participation and representation. What is the difference between this provision and the section Rule 4? This refers to participation and representation in groups where there are sectoral representation, no? So ito po yung mga grupo na sabi ng mga batas dapat may sectoral representation. So sinasabi dito dapat may mga women diyan. Otherwise puro lalaki na naman ang papaupuin diyan sa mga bodies na yan, boards or etc., no? So a provision, of course, on women should know their rights, no? Of course, as I said, social protection, ensuring cultural identity for the women IPs, no? For the indigenous peoples, no? And a catch-all for women in especially difficult circumstances, no? There are many women who have been prostituted, no? Trafficked, girl children also, and senior citizens, no? So obviously ang naiwan dito are persons with disabilities, no? Pero pwede po silang maisama dito sa WEDC to my mind, no? Women in special difficult circumstances. Okay, so the last section is on gender mainstreaming or the institutional mechanisms, no? Which, as I said, really covers here this section. We just wanted to introduce gender mainstreaming in law. This has been done by this time by PCW pero gustong i-legislate, which basically means, I'm sure you understand, ensuring that gender is included in all aspects, no, of project development, project making, in all aspects of your institution, no, in your programs, in your mechanisms, in the people, etc., which will change policies and which will promote eventually gender equality. This is also the first time that the NCRF's name has been changed, and the designation of the CHR as the gender ombud. Now, this takes quite a discussion, no? Kasi ang matagal pong discussion dito. So who will monitor all of this? Ang dami-daming nakasulat sa Magna Carta. Again, the problem of implementation. Who will monitor? We thought of amending PCW's mandates, but it's too tedious. NCRFW is created by an executive order, policy making siya, wala naman siyang etc. So masyadong masalimuot if are you going to create a new body? Are you going to create an oversight, an interagency? So ang dami-dami pong permutations. Lahat ng versions na ito are still in my memory, in my laptop, no? All the versions of the Magna Carta from the beginning to end, no? So many versions already. Until eventually I said, in particularly I think Sweden ba yan, if I'm not mistaken, or Norway, no? There's a term called gender ombud, which is the term they use for the one that monitors, or the one that where you bring your complaints, no? So like an ombudsman here, right? And we said, because women's rights are human rights, why not tap the CHR? Why create a new body? The CHR is here. Ang alam lang ng mga tao na human rights, yung political rights, yung mga nawawala, yung mga nawa-violate ang human rights, hinuhuli without arrest, etc. But women's rights are human rights as well. So let's make the CHR the one that will monitor, and we call the CHR the ombud. So there, that's the story of that section, no? So eventually na inagrihan naman. Okay, so yan na. The last bone of contention was, and therefore what's the penalty? all of the, so nakita nyo, ang dami-daming provisions. How do you now, gagawan mo ba ng penal provision kada isa? Where do you begin and end with that? No? So again, there are so many versions. No? Until the final agreement was, let's just say that if the violators are government agencies, you already have existing laws on how government agencies, in terms of if you don't do your work, etc., etc., there's already the administrative law, there's already civil service, etc., that you can use. No? So let's just use that instead of writing new provisions. No? Of course, the problem is if the violators are private persons. No? And therefore, the idea was really not to make this a penal law, but to make this more an incentive. So sabi, baka dapat mas mag-incentives and awards, no? Instead of imprisonment. Okay. So there. So that's the, in terms of penalty, no? Not really penalty, but really encouraging, no? Encouraging people to implement the Magna Carta instead of violating it. The last one would be, of course, the gender budget, which is now, as I said, legislated. So hindi na binabantayan ng PCW ang GAD, ang GAA every year kasi nandito na yan, legislated na. So, so there. And as you know, this became effective in 2009. No? So I have just five minutes there, and I will stop there. Just to let you know that there have been cases, at least I know of one, that have been filed to implement the Magna Carta. In 2016, there's a candidate that made a rape joke, a presidential candidate that made a rape joke, and a case was filed against him in the CHR for violation of the Magna Carta, and the CHR found that person to have violated the Magna Carta. So, yun. I will end there. Thank you very much. We have a few more minutes for your comments, questions, and anything you want to say at this point. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Attorney Jetty. That was a lot of food for thought, but we will try our best to absorb it all. Marcel Proust famously said, "It's not a matter of changing our landscape, but changing our eyes." Thank you for changing the way we see. On behalf of everybody here, allow me to thank you for taking the time to speak to us. Your insights on Magna Carta and how it is impacting the lives of so many people is fascinating to us all. Okay po, so let me present, allow me to present. Will you please allow me po to present my screen? I am disabled. Okay po, let me apologize for the technical difficulty a while ago. You know, here in our province, medyo may problema po talaga kami sa lahat ng connection. Okay? So hindi ko na po specify kung ano yan. Okay? So before, let me just remind all participants of the contest na na-post po namin kanina. So I will give again the instruction for the challenge. Okay? So the first instruction is to capture your hashtag at the moment photo while watching and participating in this webinar. Okay. And then post the photo on Facebook with your catchy caption and include the hashtag SaBU SafeCa and tag the official FB page of Bicol University Center for Gender and Development. And 10 individuals with the most catchy post will receive 100 load card each. Ma'am Jetty, naka-present ka pa po ba? I cannot...
wala na. I don't think... hindi ko na makita yung... clinic ko na yung stop Hindi ko na siya nakikita. And I cannot pull it down anymore. I'm trying to pull it down. Diba makikita mo siya sa taas? Wala na po.
Hindi, I have to.
Wala na.
Arnold, would you mind if you check the chat box, please? Thank you. Cherry, please. Thank you.
Siguro while can I just answer the question here? Has the Magna Carta improved the lives? No? So what we're asking po from Congress is really to exercise its oversight function, no, to have reports, no, on how the Magna Carta, how the provisions have been implemented, no, by the agencies. Because if you look at the IRR, there are agencies there na dapat nag-implement ng what section, no, but obviously the gender budget has been implemented now by the PCW, no, so even in that sense, no, of ensuring that the budget of government is used for women, although of course admittedly the past pandemic ang mga ahensya sinasabi they had to adjust, no, and use it for something else, no, because of the pandemic, no, but in that sense, no, the gender budget has been of course hindi pa siya maximized, no, but to that extent, no, and there are some laws that have been as I said repealed and some passed, but if you're asking for a more clinical view of whether to what extent it has improved, etc., etc. I don't have any study right now or any report or any comprehensive report for that matter. We'll be interested also to get that really, no? So, yun po.
Okay, so I'm so sorry again. I lost my connection again. Okay. So to award our certificate of commendation to our speaker, let me read the citation. So Bicol University Center for Gender and Development awards the certificate of commendation to Attorney Maria Cleofe Jetty C. Sandoval for being the honorable resource person during the Bicol University CGAD Regional Webinar for the Magna Carta of Women on November 25, 2021 via Zoom. Given this 25th day of November 2021, signed Noel R. Raffer, Director of CGAD, and Arnulfo M. Mascareñas, SUC President for Bicol University. Virtual applause, please.
Salamat po. Salamat po. And thank you for inviting me today.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Jetty. Okay, so let me once again post the instruction for the challenge, no? 10 individuals with the most catchy post will receive 100 pesos load card each. Okay po, tandaan, hashtag ATM, hashtag sa BU SafeCap. Okay, so gusto nyo pa po ba mag 5-minute health break o ituloy-tuloy na po natin? Ituloy-tuloy na lang natin, no? Okay, so there was a question posted earlier, and the open forum will be facilitated again by another staff of CGAD, Ms. Amabelia A. De Luna. Ate, take it away.
Thank you, Gretch. Thank you again, Attorney Jetty, for being with us this afternoon. We only have one question here. The question goes this way. How can Filipino women living or working abroad benefit from this law?
Ano po?
The question was that how can Filipino women living or working abroad benefit from this law?
Oo. First of all, we realized that we need to strengthen the representation of the Philippines in wherever the women may be found, no, especially in vulnerable areas. And so therefore, there's a provision, there's a section here in the institutional mechanism on ensuring that there's a focal person, a gender focal person in the embassies, no, to address the specific needs of women abroad. No, we also in line with the provision on women, peace, and security, we also work, and when I was in OPAP, no, we coordinate to implement the Magna Carta as well as UNSCR 1325. We work with the DFA to make sure that both the labor attaches as well as the foreign representatives, the Filipino representatives in the foreign in the embassies, in the Philippine embassies, are aware of gender rights and have programs to make sure that they help women in especially difficult circumstances, no? So kinausap namin sila, ano ba ang programa ninyo para sa mga nabibiktima na yung mga domestic helpers, no, yung mga na hindi binibigyan ng tamang sweldo ng mga amo nila, yung mga ganon, no? In other words, to strengthen the programs on gender in the embassy in compliance with Women, Peace, and Security and the Magna Carta. So yun po yung specific provisions, no? So following the Rule 4 as well as in the institutional mechanisms, that there needs to be a focal person, a person in charge, no? So alam naman natin, no, in mainstreaming, you need to have people, you need to have mechanisms, etc. Diba? You need to have programs. So yung entry points na yon, no? Sige. So yon. There's also a section on migrant women, no? On the marginalized section portion. So when they come back, yun yung ano, no? Yun yung section na yon on migrant women. What are the programs? There should be programs for migrant women returning. Ensuring that there will be training for them so that they are able to find jobs here, ensuring that there are social protection programs for them to be provided by the respective agencies, no? So yun po, yun yung nasa Magna Carta natin.
Thank you very much for your insight, Attorney Jetty. I'm pretty sure our OFW will be very happy to know that information po. Thank you so much. Gretch?
Thank you, Ate. If you allow, Attorney Jetty, I have a little request from you. I know that may kinalaman ka po sa Safe Spaces Act. So maybe you can give us a little background on the Safe Spaces Act and illuminate some of the confusions regarding the particular law.
Okay. The Safe Spaces Act is the new sexual harassment law. We already have a sexual harassment law, Republic Act 7877, which was passed in 1995. But that is a very limited law. It only covers workplaces and schools and only for with moral ascendancy, not the perpetrator would be someone with moral ascendancy. Now the Safe Spaces Act enlarges that, adds 2 more types of sexual harassment that may happen, one committed in public spaces and the other one committed online, and then retaining the workplace and schools also. It is now not only limited in terms of schools and workplaces. It's not only limited now to one with moral ascendancy, but it can be committed by anyone, anywhere, doing away with the one with limitation of 7877. So basically, yun po. But the Safe Spaces Act do not amend or do not repeal. It is not repealing 7877. So 7877 is still there, still here, still valid, no? Whenever applicable. So basically, yun po yung pagkakaiba ng dalawang yan.
Salamat po, Attorney. We have another question po from Camarines Norte State College from Sir Ronald. And he asked for, what is your stand that husband was legally exempted on marital rape, since it was assumed that by the very act of marriage, wives permanently consented to have sex with their husband? Either man or husband been penalized?
Actually, if you look at the provision on those that need to be repealed, the section of the Magna Carta where we enumerated some laws that we wanted repealed, this is one of them. Because we wanted that section on the rape law to be amended, no? Because in the rape law, it says that when rape happens, but eventually the rapist marries the rape victim, then the crime is terminated, no? Extinguished, which should not be, right? But right now, that's the law. The mandate of the Magna Carta is that should be reviewed and that should be repealed. It has not been done. So, kailangan pong gawin yon ng mga mambabatas gawin. So, agenda pa po yan ng mga kababaihan. So, ayan. So, agenda namin yan to have that repealed. I'm not aware of any case po. I'm sorry, no, of any case of husband. Kasi hindi ka nga mapipenalize Kasi wala nga penalty. Pag may naka-file sa'yo ng rape, tas pumayag magpakasal sa'yo, madidismiss na po yung kaso. Hindi na magtutuloy. Kasi asawa ka na So, yun.
Ma'am Chetty, Noel
yes,
here
po.
po.
Yes.
I just like to know po, just in case of a follow-up question from Camarines Norte State College. So what if somebody is already married and she is being forced to have sex with a husband? So would husband be penalized? I think that's what's being asked by
So merong marital rape. There is such a thing as marital rape. In other words, if the rape happens within marriage, that is rape. Right? So you can file a case. But if the situation was there was a rape and you married, then the crime is extinguished. That crime is extinguished. But if during the marriage, the rape continues to happen, then that's another offense. So, yun. That's a different offense. Hindi na siya yung isa.
Thank you very much for the clarification.
Sige.
Thank you, Attorney. Parang dumadami po yata ang question natin.
Opo.
Here's another question po. Is there an equivalent law of 9710 for men? Why is the institutional mechanism for 9710 designed for all genders, but the specific stipulates of 9710 for women only?
Okay. So this is, baka may gender professors tayo na dapat sumagot dito sa laging tanong na bakit ba gender pero women? Okay. That is why I started the discussion on the diagram, right? The diagram, the analytical problem, remember? I said that that is the problem that we want to face, that in society, there is inequality between men and women. And so while we say that gender responses would like equality between the two. The reality is right now, hindi pantay. So may catch up. Kailangan may catch up ka. Right? Kaya po may mga hindi po mali ang women-specific laws. But what we're saying is, when we're talking about gender-responsive provisions, hindi lang yon, hindi lang women-specific. But that is not wrong as well. Because, for example, in the VAUC law, you will find there provisions that says that psychological counseling should also be provided to men. You find that also in the Safe Spaces Act, no? In other words, the services should be provided to both, no? Because to be able to change, no, the mindset of people, men and women, should also change. But the response is directed particularly to help women in particular situations of discrimination. Kaya women yung ina-address. Okay? Kaya kahit na sinasabi mong gender responsive siya, you're saying, but understand that in this situation, hindi sila pantay. So kapag sinabi mong lahat ng serbisyong ibibigay mo ay pantay, hindi mo pa rin ina-address yung inequality, right? Kaya mo binibigyan ng affirmative action, kaya mo binibigyan ng temporary measures, no, for women, is because the realization that the situation is there is an unequal situation in society, and this is born by statistics. This is not an imagination of some minds, no. So there is data to say that there is inequality, and therefore this is why the Magna Carta is there, no? Walang Magna Carta for men kasi nga pinapantayin mo yung sitwasyon. Kaya ganun. Kasi hindi naman sila nasa disadvantaged position, 'di ba? Hindi naman sila yung discriminated, 'di ba? So, hindi ka magbibigay ng batas na discrimination for all. Kasi hindi naman nga all ang discriminated nga women. So, kaya po, ganun. No? So, laging may makikita kayo na provisions na particularly focusing on women, although you say that, of course, what you want is gender equality at the end of the whole, the output that you want to achieve is really gender equality.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mahabang debate po yan sa gender course.
Follow-up question from Ms. Irene Bueno. Are there specific stipulates in 9710 which are not effectively implemented? If there is, what are the contextual reasons?
Well, there are a lot of provisions there. As I said, for example, no, we begin with the incremental increase for hiring, no? Because the idea there is to have many women medical legal that will now take care of victims of that when you go to and the medical legal services of the PNP or the NBI, it will be women that will take care of the internal examination of victims of violence, no, and not men. So that's the idea there. You have many the idea. So the question is, we're looking at NAPOLCOM in terms of its implementation of the police, although PNP law nga has a quota, which adds, but what the idea is that every year you should increase the quota. It's not a steady quota of 5% every year. You should increase it every year so that more women will be admitted, no? So yung isang hindi pa yon masyadong nagagawa, no? And of course the repeal of the laws that I just already mentioned, no? Marami pa pong hindi nagagawa. Although there are, for example, the Code of Muslim Personal Laws is still the 1970s version of the Code of Muslim Personal. So marami pa po na kailangan gawin, and the idea is for the bureaucracy at least, no, to understand initially muna how the 5% GAD budget, at least 5% GAD budget will be used, so that eventually this will be the money, this will be the budget that will be used in influencing and making sure that the other provisions of the Magna Carta are implemented, no? In terms of training, in terms of, because you find a lot of resistance, you find a lot of questioning, no? Bakit ba kailangan yan? Et cetera. So, and therefore, you need a lot of awareness sessions, you need a lot of influencing, no, policymakers, no, and even if this was 2010, now it's 11 years now since 2010, since this law became effective, or 2009, no, there's still a lot to be done, and there's an ongoing review, no. I've not participated in the review, so I'm not sure exactly where they are right now, but I know there's a review of the Magna Carta going on, no, which they want a legislative agenda to be the output of this review, no, among others, no. So we'll see. The review, of course, will necessitate a reporting, diba, of where are we right now, no? So hindi pa po tapos yung review, it's ongoing.
Okay, thank you very much, Attorney Jetty. I think there's no more question posted on our chat box. For some reason, we are having technical glitches again. Pasensya na po. Nasa Pilipinas po tayo, mga kapatid.
Buti nga hindi ako nawala eh. Sa ibang training ko po, bigla na lang ako nawawala.
It is beyond our control po talaga, ma'am.
Opo. Sige lang. Ano lang tayo. Patience.
Opo. While we're waiting for that, I'd like to again thank our affiliates and agencies for being with us this afternoon. Partido State University, Camarines Norte State College, Central Bicol State University of Agriculture, Sorsogon State College, Camarines Sur Polytechnic College, Department of Education, San Jose Community College, Tabaco National High School, DepEd Monreal National High School, PNPTI RTC 5, PLGU Sorsogon, DepEd Albay Malilipot National High School, University of Santo Tomas Graduate School, Legazpi City, Legazpi City National High School, Kumadgad National High School, Buena Flor Elementary School, National Economic and Development Authority, Bureau of Fire Protection Region 5, Professional Regulations Commission, Legazpi, Philippine Statistics Authority, Albay, PLGU, Catanduanes, of course, our very own Bicol University Institute of Design and Architecture, College of Education, College of Social Science and Philosophy, College of Engineering, College of Business, Economics and Management, College of Agriculture and Forestry, Jesse M. Robredo Institute of Governance and Development, University Health Science Library, Bicol University Open University, Bicol University Gubat Campus, Tabaco Campus, Pulangi Campus, and Daga Campus. Again, thank you very much for being with us this afternoon. May I turn on the hosting to Dr. Noel? Boss?
Thank you very much, Ms. Ami. I think we could have a photo op with Attorney Jetty for posterity's sake. Would you mind if all participants could turn on their cameras, please?
Okay, yes, please.
We're quite a lot, so please bear with us. You have wear your best smile for a few seconds, like 30 seconds. No, just kidding. So that we could have the screenshot for everyone. But before that, while we are preparing to turn on our cameras, I can thank you enough po, lahat po na nag-participate sa amin ngayon. Kung may ma-miss man po ako sa group chat na nabanggit, my sincerest apologies, but my again, my heartfelt gratitude to all of you po. So, ready na po ba? Naka-on na po ba ang mga cameras natin? Ayan.
Sustain mo yung mga smile while having their screenshot.
Opo. So, we have po 5 na galleries po. So, 5 pages. So, please bear with us, Ma'am Jetty po. I know medyo tayong maging Miss Universe, pero for this time, Miss World and Miss Universe po tayong lahat. 1, 2, and 3. Hold on po.
Okay, hold po muna.
Hold po muna. Next one po. Next page.
Next
Ayan.
page.
May iba pa pong hindi naka-turn on ng kanilang camera. Okay.
Bawal ang shy ngayon.
PSA po, Mariners Legazpi. Okay. Ayan, nag-turn on ang kanilang cameras. Thank you so much. CPRU, BUCS.
Okay.
1, 2,
Bye.
and... Okay.
Next one
Okay,
po.
next page po. Okay,
Ang
number
hirap po
3.
ng artista talaga.
Okay. 1. Okay.
Please open your
May
camera
mag-turn
po.
pa ba ng camera? Ma'am Grace. And
Wala yan.
our from PSA Catanduanes. Anyway, so 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Next page po.
Ayan.
Okay. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And last page po. Wala daw pong camera yung sa PSA. Okay lang po, ma'am or sir. Okay. 1, 2, 3, and there you go.
Thank you.
Congratulations, BUCGAD.
Opo, salamat po. Ma'am Jetty, again, our heartfelt gratitude, sincerest gratitude for honoring us this afternoon, the first day of a series of activities of the Bicol University with regard to our campaign, our advocacy on the 18-day campaign against violence against women and children. Words of gratitude are not enough po, attorney. And thank you din po kay Professor Fred Pablico for the contact details that he gave us para po makapanayam namin kayo ngayong hapon. We are truly honored to have you for this activity, and we look forward po to have more or series of talks with you po, especially po my dear friends that she is also the main author and consultant of the Safe Spaces Act, which is also one of the main highlights of the 18-day campaign against violence against women. So, thank you so much po, attorney. Any other words of encouragement po for all of us?
Maraming salamat lang po at good luck po sa inyong lahat. Thank you very much for all the efforts for the 18-day campaign.
Opo, thank you very much po, attorney. And we will be contacting you po through email and through cell phone po.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. You have
Salamat
a great
sa lahat. Salamat sa lahat.
God bless po. God bless. And be safe po, attorney, and everyone. Thank you so
Ingat
much.
po kayo.
Opo.
Salamat.
Thank you po. Bye-bye po. Thank you, Bicol University.
Thank you, everyone, for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you, Catanduanes State U, PSU, Sorsogon State U, CSPC, CNSC, lahat ng colleagues namin sa SUCS, lahat ng SUCS sa Region 5 represented by their God focal persons. Thank you very much. Sir John ng PNP RTC 5. So, kailan ba uli ako magtuturo sa RTC 5?
Oo, no. Schedule natin at meron na.
Opo, baka
Welcome
siguro po, baka po inisip nyo masyadong mataas po yung rating. Hindi naman. Po natin yun. And congratulations din po sa bago nyo pong director.
Opo, regards po.
Opo, and lahat po ng members ng PSA Masbate and other PSA agencies po in the region. Thank you very much for joining us. Sana we look forward to have a face-to-face seminar workshop with you in due time. Pati yung mga nasa DepEd po, nasa health service, nakakatuwa po, salamat sa inyong pagdalo. Lahat po ng kapamilya namin sa Bicol University from the different campuses, and of course the BU officials po, kay Ma'am Ami, kay Sir Nolly, and the rest of the officials, the deans and the directors. Para po sa aming mga pati po sa Catanduanes State U, Ma'am Melinda, thank you so much. Mariners Polytechnic Colleges of Legazpi, thank you so much as well for joining. Marami pong naka-line up na activities pa rin po sa amin sa Bicol University for the 8-day campaign. Hopefully po the members of the Bicol University community would be able to join us. Especially meron po kaming pabailin para po sa mga kababayan laban sa kadasan. Hopefully on November 10, pag naging successful po yung mga practice ng mga iba't ibang campuses. Tapos tomorrow din po, we would also be posting on our FB page the link for the anti-VAUSI and the other pertinent laws like the Safe Spaces Act. We would be posting them po in links sa aming FB page. And then we would also ask the CAD coordinators to share the same link to all their friends. So thank you very much once again. Sana po kung tawag dyan, kung face-to-face sana nagkaroon po tayo ng muntik sala-sala. So reserve yun na po muna. Savings po na muna natin. Utang po muna namin. But in any case, thank you so much really for joining us. And God bless everyone. See you next time po.
Bye-bye. Salamat.
To all participants coming from the different agencies in the region who are with us this afternoon, to everyone silently supporting the plight of SIGAD, dakulang salamat po sa gabos. Once again, I am Gretchen, your host for this webinar, saying live life the way you want it, be safe and be happy. Hashtag Filipino Marespeto, Safe Spaces, kasali tayo. Magandang hapon po sa lahat.
Thank you so much.
Mga pangarap kayang abutin, pag-asa ng ambisyon natin, di kukuha tulog-tulog. Saan man magpunta, walang susuko. Kahit anong problema, wala lang yan basta idaan sa ngiti lang. Pasok na yan at laging isipin na tayo'y tatak ni Eugenio.
Ngunit kahit di mabuti ang kinasasalangan, mga balakid sa daan parang hindi malagpasan. Tumingala, sabituin ang karunungan, pag sinabing biyuan nyo hindi yan uurungan. Dugo kasun, ating tinataglay, ilapas mo sa baot, anong itong ibinigay sa tinadya sama. Kumbaga, iba ka sa kanila kundi kanila patuloy niyan kanta.
Mga talento natin na iba-iba, sa pamumuno tayo'y nagiging isa. Sa serbisyo, hindi nagsusukuan. Kahit di na kaya, ay kakayanin pa. Tumayong itak, sumayaw tayong biyuhan nyo. Sama-sama tayo, tunay na naganda ang taglay ng ating mga puso. Walang susuko.